Hey, this is Don with the Living Herd.
And Melinda,
We are a nonprofit and a 501(c) corporation, and I want to spend a few minutes just telling you a little bit about how this got started, and then I also want to go over with you our mission and some more details. In other words, this is part of the big reveal. And I know you're excited, aren't you?
I'm very excited.
Good, we both are. So we'll get started. So I was in South Africa, invited to go on a safari hunt in 2024. I I am I have no issue personally with hunting animals for food. That's sustainability, and I'm okay with that. What I don't believe in is hunting animals for sport or trophy. I when I was there, I that's exactly some of the stuff I saw. I saw people hunting just to have something to put on their wall, and I even saw people hunting just for the adrenaline rush of being able to do it. And those things I just don't believe in. I don't judge others who do believe in it, but I don't believe in it, and so we've acted on our beliefs. And so that's how this came to be is I went there, I came home, and it led to where I felt a calling from God to go do what we're doing here at the Living Herd.
Don, why don't you tell them about that story of what happened to you back in 1996?
If you want me to, I will. I just want others to know that I might get emotional. I do sometimes when I tell this story. So if I do, please forgive me. Back in 1996, before I had gray hair, I was at a point in my life where I really felt lost. I had lost my dad when I was young, and it just sort of, you know, led to a point where I just felt lost. I felt like I didn't have purpose in my life, and I definitely wasn't living in joy or happiness. And I was in Miami, Florida on business. And that weekend, that Sunday, was Mother's Day. But I had some business that would go into the next week. So my wife and son did not expect me home. But trying to be a good husband and father, I had a surprise. I had a flight on Saturday, and I was going to surprise them and fly home. And then, which is from Miami to Atlanta. And then I would fly back to Miami on Monday after Mother's Day. And I get a phone call on Friday morning before the Saturday of my flight, and Melinda tells me that our son had his first nightmare and it was really bad. And he was like, Daddy, Daddy, I want to tell you about it. So he gets on the phone and he tells me about it. And it was really traumatic to him. And and so I listened. A few hours later in the day, I decided not to take the flight, but I still wanted to surprise them. So I drove from Miami, Florida, up to what's called Cocoa Beach, about 3.5 hours. And that's where my mother is. I stayed at my mother's house overnight. And then I got up early on Saturday morning to make the rest of the drive so I could surprise my family and be home for Mother's Day. I get to a little town called Macon, Georgia, which is just outside of Atlanta, and you can start picking up the radio stations in Atlanta. And this is back in 1996 when radio stations is the way that most people listen to music. So I turn on the radio and I hear that ValueJet Flight 592 crashed in the Everglades and it was completely submerged, and they were trying to find it. That was my flight. Okay. That was the flight that I was supposed to be on Saturday that I canceled. My son's dream, the nightmare, was that I died in an airplane crash and the plane was completely submerged. And my son in his dream, who is actually in real life a good swimmer, was swimming and trying to find the plane, find me. And if you could imagine how something like that would could impact me. So I pull off the interstate and I'm in tears and I'm like, God, why would you give my son this dream? Why would you want to save me? I'm nobody. And I finally came to a point where I said, well, all I know is that if you did give my son the dream to save me, then you must have a purpose for my life. And the reason that you probably want me to tell them this is because since then, when I feel a calling from God, I act on it because I feel like it's another purpose that He has for me. And that's the reason Living Hurt exists. Is that what you want me to tell?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to spend a few minutes and actually go over some things about the living herd. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to have some fun together. All right. I just want to reiterate again our mission. And our mission as a nonprofit is to help hunting safaris transform into places where the animals are protected instead of hunted. In other words, they become permanent conservations. It's that simple. So I'll go through this quickly. What we'll do at the safari is we'll start pulling together sponsors who donate money by herd. And when I say herd, think about it as species. So as an example, we're starting, we want to protect all the giraffes at the first safari. And so people will get together and they'll sponsor and donate. And the number two, the money will actually go into a managed endowment. And that endowment will generate interest, right? And and it will generate revenue off the investment. And it's that investment income that will be used to take and protect those animals into future generations. Number three, all the people who are involved in sponsor will get regular content updates, pictures and videos, updates from the field. And and they'll get all that content via a private community that is set up for everybody who sponsored that herd. So think about it this way. One, two, three, four. We sponsor all the giraffes. The money goes into an endowment. A lot of content starts to go to a private community of all the people who sponsored the giraffes. Maybe the zebras are next. And so we sponsor out the zebras. The money goes into and builds up the endowment funding. People get a lot of content in a private community for all the people who were involved in sponsoring the zebras. And so on and so forth until so we get to a point where we get to number five, and all of the animals have been sponsored, and the entire safari is now a conservation. A wonderful time. At that point, all of the individual communities get pulled into a single community that represents the safari conservation, and they get all the regular updates on all the animals that are protected in that safari. And that safari is then protected for generations because it has an endowment that is generating investment income, and the safari is living as a conservation off the investment income, which is a wonderful time. All right. So next I want to talk about some of the funding structure so that you guys have an idea of how that's going to work. First of all, on the left-hand side here, it's we we believe that easily through a managed investment, the endowment dollars, that we can easily generate 5% on average a year, and that 5% will be used to run the conservation operations at the safari. So you'll notice that the majority of the dollars go to wildlife protection at the safari. Here's a really cool thing. We are also going to invest in the local community. We'll be spending money on wherever the priorities exist, whether that be in schools, digging wells for fresh water, whatever the local communities need.
That's so awesome.
Yep. Next, we'll be spending some dollars on scientific research, where we bring in other large wildlife organizations or universities that can do research. And it goes towards audits, because we will have third-party audits to make sure that the safaris are doing everything that they're contracted to do. The rest of the dollars, both the infrastructure, operations, and marketing, which is together, will go into another and a separate endowment. And the endowment will generate, again, investment income, which pays for all of the infrastructure, operations, and marketing. So what you have is a way of creating a system that generates enough income to go for generations, because they're not spending everything they're making. They're living off the investment revenue.
For those of you who don't know, we have our first hunting safari, Komoto Safaris, and the owners are Annalie and Louie. And they are so excited about the possibility of being protectors of the animals and stewards of the land.
Yeah.
That is an exciting thought, isn't it?
It really is. And they're such a wonderful family.
They are.
We really look forward to being able to do this for them.
Yes.
With y'all, with everybody's help.
With everybody's help, the dream can become the reality. Yeah. By the way, if Louie and Annalie are on board to becoming a conservation, then why do they continue hunting?
It's a great question. Okay. And what everybody needs to understand is that right now, hunting is their livelihood. It's the way they pay the bills. It's the way they put food on the table. It's the way that they survive. And that's why the living herd is going to replace the income.
Okay.
That
makes very good sense.
Good.
Don, are you ready to do the reveal on how others can get involved?
I sure am. So I'm getting ready to share my screen and show that to you. All righty. So there are 3 ways to get involved. The first one is called the Guardian level. It's $250. There'll only be 7,000 available per herd/species. So as an example, all the giraffes. And what value are they getting for their $250? For one, they'll get a Living Herd t-shirt. And
That's awesome.
Very nice t-shirt. I won't get into the details of it now, but I want them to realize that there's actually a crypto component to this, and they'll get what's called an NFT, which is digital artwork that represents the specific species that they sponsored.
That's cool.
And the NFTs will actually be used for gamification over time. And so there'll be a lot of fun things that we do with it.
Nice.
Okay. They'll get their regular updates on photos and videos. They'll get recognition in a quarterly report. They'll get access to that private community that we talked about. And I think this one's cool. They'll actually be able to have voting towards the next herd that's
awesome.
going to be sponsored.
That's awesome.
The great thing is, since we're a 501(c), you get a tax deduction for your sponsorship. And then finally, you'll get discounts at the Safari Lodge.
That's wonderful.
Yes. The next level up is called the Protector. It's 2,500. There's only 1,000 available per species slash herd. Okay. You get everything I've already covered. Plus, you get complimentary stay at the lodge. So
Yep.
you get 3 nights, including transportation to and from the airport, 3 meals a day, lodging, and you also they take you on guided tours of the safari.
Awesome.
And you get this for 2 people, so you don't have to go by yourself.
That's wonderful.
Okay. You'll be able to attend a meeting with the Living Herd founders and the board twice a year. Ask whatever questions you want, see what's coming up, and actually be able to influence maybe what happens in the future. You also, this one's I think pretty cool too. Now you get voting rights toward on the community projects that get sponsored. And then finally, your name, and if it was me, I'd suggest that you put, like in my instance, the Marks family, and that your name will be listed as a sponsor on a board at the lodge.
That's
And that's a
wonderful.
legacy that'll be there for generations.
That's so cool.
So I know that we're planning on
Ah,
doing that
yes.
for our family to be there for generations. And then finally, this is more corporate sponsorship, or high net worth sponsorship. It's 25,000. We call it the legacy. You get everything I've already covered in the guardian and the protector. Okay. But you also get to name one of the animals in the herd.
That's
And
cool.
by naming it, we'll start using that name as you see it in different social media posts,
Awesome.
maybe even on the merchandise. Like if there's a mama giraffe, we actually might put the name that you gave the mama
That's
giraffe.
awesome.
Instead of the 3 nights, you get 7 nights at the safari. You also get some really cool tours, going walking with the lions. There's an elephant experience, some really cool stuff. You'll get mentioned on the film credits for the annual conservation film. And then finally, you'll get an invitation to the annual Living Herd Ball that will be in the United States, and you'll get to meet the entire Living Herd team.
That's
So
wonderful.
now here's the coolest thing. For the first species, which is the giraffes at Komodo Safaris, we're not going to sell the legacy, um, when this legacy level. We're actually going to do some competitions and give them away. You'll be hearing about that soon. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
That'll be a lot of fun.
So imagine being able to get something at this level at no cost. I've just finished going over the 3 tiers that we're really excited about. And I want to make sure everybody understands these are one-time donations, not ongoing. All of this to say, we don't beat sport and trophy hunting with protest and mean comments or temporary solutions that don't appropriately put long-term funding models in place. What we do is we outbid it. So think about that. What we do is we make living animals worth much more than dead ones. That's our goal. We have
It's
expectations that we will do this, and we truly look forward to others joining us on this adventure. Thank you.